take some. So, good morning and good afternoon. I welcome you back to this course lecture number 1. Why do I call lecture number 1? We had an introduction class, but we do not actually begin to learn. We just had an overview in the last lecture. What was the course content? How are we going to have learning of this course? What was the objective of this course, and how those objectives are met through those expected outcomes? And then course mark configuration. So we had a plan of having 2 quizzes and 1 digital assignment apart from your CAT 1 and CAT 2 to meet our internal assessment. And then of course we have as it is a final assessment examination. And these are all something that we had in our introduced class on this Monday during A2 slot. And today I'm going to open up this course syllabus, and then you're going to learn an important step in this fundamental course, engineering mechanics, that how do you handle the force? That's what I am going to teach you today's class essentially. So I hope that all of you will have the skill of looking at the force and manipulating the force. What I mean by manipulating the force, if I give you 1 force, I ask you to resolve into 2. Or if I give you more number of forces and I ask you to resolve, compose them. So how comfortably you are going to play around with the forces is what is essentially today's class that you are going to learn. Of course, I am going to have my 3 slides just to brief what it was done during the last class, and then we go ahead with that, right? So let me share for today's lecture my screen. Just a minute. So you are able to see the screen, all of you? Lecture number 1.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I have some couple of slides here. Then we'll go for looking at handling the force. So this course, it's offered in A2 slot. In last class, we just looked at the content of the course assessment rubrics. That's exactly I was telling, mark configuration. So we have CAT 1, CAT 2, quiz 1, quiz 2, digital assignment, and the schedule of instruction for this I would update in VTOP. So you will know all the lectures what would be the expected topic of learning from the schedule of instruction. I have not yet updated. I do that in VTOP. You would download that Excel sheet and have a pre-idea of what would be our proceedings of learning. And what was that we did is just got to introduce to rigid body mechanics. So in one statement to say what is rigid body mechanics, it's branch of physical science which is concerned with the study of resultant effect of action of forces on bodies, both in state of rest or in the motion. So this mechanics we are going to study into 2 parts, statics and dynamics. And the statics and dynamics are governed completely for rigid bodies by certain fundamental principles and some basic concepts. Correct. The people are waiting. Basic concepts. So just we'll see what are those fundamental principles and basic concepts, and then we'll go ahead with today's class. And importantly, you would remember last class I was repeatedly telling this basic idealization in rigid body mechanics. One is particle idealization, another one is rigid body idealization. So this is very important. So particle idealization is not referring to massless bodies. It's not tiny dust particle. It is a rigid body where their physical geometry can be neglected for convenience of our observation study. Example I was quoting in the last class is an airplane. So we can treat this huge airplane, physical geometry can be neglected when we are looking at its trajectory in the sky, its path in the sky. So the huge mass is not neglected, only the physical geometry, and we treat that to move in a curved path. So that's exactly what was in the last class we are saying as particle ideology. Right, people still in the lobby. Yeah. And rigid body ideology, wherein we cannot neglect the physical geometry. That's exactly what we have seen that for a design of a tire wheel assembly and requirement of its design, we cannot neglect the small wheel dimension. So you require the forces where exactly they're acting on a rigid bodies. So these are the two basic important ideology. As we proceed with the course, we will understand this ideology will be flipped between. We will sometimes solve problems with the particle ideology, sometimes with the rigid body ideology. What is the advantage of considering particle ideology and so on will be very clearly understood by all of you. And then we looked at in the last introduced class, what was the course objectives and outcome. I do not want to repeat it, but this is what we looked at it. And see, these are something I'm listing it. I'm not going to elaborate. You would see any standard textbook if you open, you would see first these fundamental principles and then basic concepts. So fundamental principles are 7. So Newton's first law, Newton's second law, Newton's third law, and Newton's law of gravitational attraction, transmissibility of forces, and parallelogram law of forces, and triangle law of forces. So these are very important when you have to handle with your forces that we will see in today's class that you will experience. And the entire rigid body mechanics are governed by these 4 fundamental principles and importantly Newton's laws, right? So these are very important and these are coming from mathematics. And these all are because of an important basic concepts that completely drive our course is an understanding of space, time, mass, and force. So these quantities we cannot no, define explicitly. These are the concepts they cannot truly defined. They could they should be accepted on the basis of our intuition and experience and used as a mental frame of reference for the study of mechanics. See these classical statements. I take this all from the textbook, the statements. So we will not have a specific definition. If I have to say what is space, space is the one wherein we could define a position of a particle. Like that I can say, right? So it is how do we intuitively feel is what is space. Time we can feel only. If I miss this time, this lecture, I do not get a chance to listen to the teacher on the board. But of course, I can revisit my posted videos and so on. So that is what is time. So time we want to define, you would define along with an event. So the lecture took place from that time. This vehicle started and moving from this time to this time, from this space to this space. Like that only we can intuitively feel and define time. And mass similarly. So you say a rigid body, mass is a virtue property which would offer resistance for its translation or which would offer resistance for the rotation of the expected body. So like that we could define. And another important basic concept is force, which is all we study in our mechanics. The force is characterized by 3 important aspects. One is the force will have its magnitude. The force will have its direction. The force will have its line of action or point of application. So I can't say a force acting on body means I will have a force at what point it is acting on a body, or if I draw a line along the force direction, and that is what is the line on which it is acting. For example, I have to pull a heavy vehicle. I have a rope attached to the front bumper and I pull. That the rope is exactly what is the line of action. So the force what is pulling the vehicle is along the rope. The tension is what is the force there. So the force is having some magnitude, say 100 Newton force or 200 Newton force. That is what is magnitude. Direction is the force is acting in horizontal direction or the force is acting at an angle. Like that you say it is a direction. And this is how force is characterized, and it is vectorially represented, and it is a vector quantity. So you'll see that in our problem solving time. So the effect of forces on an unconstrained free body is translation in the direction of resultant. So resultant means what? You have number of forces, you replace by a single force called resultant, and the direction of unconstrained body. that means it's totally free body, would be moving in that same direction. For example, we were seeing that door hinged on a wall is an example. So it is not fully free body, it's partially constrained body. So it's partially constrained, the effect is rotation of the body, so that you know. So what is the effect of force on rigid bodies is what we were also talking in the last class. So it can be on a body which is completely constrained, where it would be completely supported. So the action of force would not make the state of the body of rest condition to change. Rather, it would create a reaction at the supports. So the support should be able to bear the reaction so that the state is maintained, and then there is stability of the system achieved. A building is supported on its foundation. So foundation is properly erected on a soil strength estimation. Then there won't be any problem of building going inside the earth or something. So the stability of the structure is ensured. That does not mean there is no forces, you would say. The entire load is being bared by the support foundation. So the reaction that comes on the support on the foundation is what is that you would study in statics part, right? But if you look at any machineries, any mechanical system which is having relative motion, you would see there are unconstrained or free bodies, and they are going to have its motion, right? So that's what is the effect of force on the bodies. And the textbook that is recommended for this course is Vector Mechanics for Engineers, Statics and Dynamics by Beer and Johnston. So you would download the e-copies from internet and you can have, or I would always suggest that this is a classical textbook that you would buy and hold as a treasure, as a resource, treasure at your home, right? So this is all what was that we were just briefing and looking at in the last class. And our module 1 is something that we're going to talk on, basics of statics. So today I'm going to teach you an important step in mechanics, what is called resolution and composition, right? So this is lecture number 1. One, 3/2/2021. So we are going to look at, so just a minute. And composition. So for example, so just look at here, I'm going to represent a force acting on this hook. So this is a hook here, and I have a force which is represented by a vector of magnitude, say 100 Newton, and the direction, say 30 degrees. I would ask you now to replace this force by two forces which are acting, one along horizontal direction, another one along vertical direction. So that will not change the effect in this. The reaction what is felt at this hook is same. If this 100 Newton force alone acting, or I replace that by two forces, one along the direction horizontal, another along the direction vertical, with that magnitude, would have the same effect, is what is called a resolution of a force. So how do you do this? Can anyone answer? How do you go about doing this? How do I replace this 100 Newton into two forces? Yeah.
100 cos 30 and 100 sin 30.
Yeah, 100 cos 30 and sin 30.
Yeah, you are right. You are answering correct. So that comes from your simple understanding of right angle triangle geometry, right? So if I have my right angle triangle, and if this is angle theta, and in this right angle, I have my Pythagoras theorem. I have my trigonometry. So I define my sine theta as opposite side by hypotenuse, or I define my cos theta as adjacent side by hypotenuse. That helps me to resolve this vector into two components, one along this direction, another one along this direction. So what was this horizontal one? As if this is force F, so I would call this as F cos theta, and I would call this as f sin theta. Why do I call this as f cos theta and f sin theta? F cos theta is because cos theta is what is adjacent side by hypotenuse. So look at cos theta. If I write in a right angle triangle, what is cos theta? Adjacent side by hypotenuse. So adjacent side is fx and hypotenuse is f. So what is that I require? Fx. So this fx is what is f cos theta. That's how it comes, right? So this is your fx, horizontal component, which is fx here. So here is angle 30 degrees. So it's going to be 100 cos 30. So this fx is 86.6 Newton, right? Similar way, you know the definition in the right angle triangle. What is sine theta for this angle shown? So it is opposite side by adjacent side. So opposite side, let me call it as Fy. Why do I call that as an Fy? It is vertical. So subscript y is for vertical direction. Subscript x here is for horizontal direction. So the sine theta is opposite side Fy by hypotenuse. That's f. So I get my Fy equals f sine theta. So it is 100 sine 30. So sine 30 is 0.5. So I get this value 50 Newton. So this is Fy. This is Fy. So I have these two forces. So having one force 100 Newton acting at the hook at which is 30 degrees inclined, same as that of having these two forces. So how do I verify that? By Pythagoras theorem. So what does Pythagoras theorem says? If I have to compose these two, so I get my f. So what is f? It is under root of fx square plus fy square. That's what is in a right angle triangle you get. So that hypotenuse is nothing but under root of adjacent side square plus opposite side square. When I say side square, because it's magnitude, the length of this arrow is what is referring the values. So if that is so, I would have my this f back. So if I substitute that here, I can cross check that is met. So I get here 100 Newton, right? So this is the simple cross check. So what is this we have done? And so far is what is that we are doing called a resolving a force. Resolving a force into two components. So what are those two components called? Horizontal and vertical component. So if I have a hook and I represent the hook as origin and I represent my horizontal x-axis, vertical y-axis, if I have like this a force, I would be able to replace this by two forces here. So that's the very first step that you should understand. And these two forces are at right angle. That's very important, right? So is there any doubt? Any doubt in this simple step? This is the first very simple step appears, but that's a good step to start the course. Any doubt? So what is this composition? Why do I write composition? If I have to replace these two forces by a single force, how do I do that? By this process. So I would, since these two forces are at right angle, I can replace this by applying Pythagoras theorem. I get my magnitude by simply under root of fx square plus fy square, I get this back. And how do I get this direction? So the direction here theta is this theta I needed. So it is opposite by adjacent side. If I use, I would be able to get. That's why it is tan inverse of opposite side is fy, adjacent side is fx. And if I substitute this values here correspondingly, fy is 50 and fx is 86.6. What is that I get is 30 degrees. So I get back my direction. So when I have these two forces, I replace it back here, I would be able to have that process called composition. So this side is composition and this forward side is resolution. So this is the very first step that I hope that you have understood and you should do it always. Is there any difficulty, anything that you don't understand in this?
No,
Please.
sir. No, sir.
Yeah, it's clear, right? Okay, so now let us just, before proceeding, let me just ask you some simple questions and I expect that you respond. And then we'll go ahead, right? I just want to confirm still more what is the understanding on this. So for that sake, I'm just going to play around this force orientation. I'm just going to ask you what is that that you are going to have. So let's take the same force acting on the hoop, and I'm now going to put the direction like this. See, now the same 100 Newton force, but now this direction is 30 degrees on this side, right? So if I ask you to replace this, it is very simple, that you construct here a rectangle, construct this rectangle, and then you whatever that you had the same. So I will have here in this direction it comes, and it is on this top it comes like this. So this is going to be 100 cos 30, and this is going to be 100 sin 30, right? So you would have this. So like that we can resolve. So this force can be anywhere in the quadrant. So what I mean by anywhere in the quadrant, you know what is point of application. So this is my x-axis, y-axis. The first case we looked at in the first quadrant, this is in the second quadrant. So you can have a force tail here and head on this quadrant, and you can have in the fourth quadrant it is coming out. So when you project, you would have accordingly the force. For example, if I have a force here in the fourth quadrant, now I have this force here in the fourth quadrant. So now you would not have any difficulty in saying that I would have my Fx and Fy in these directions, provided this angle is always to the horizontal. Then this Fx is F cos theta and Fy is F sin theta, you should say. So you can also have a representation sometime in the problem. You would be given the inclination. You are mentioning any time, always we prefer to mention the direction from horizontal. So for example, I could also represent here from the positive direction like this. I would also represent this angle from here. So this angle is now 150 degrees. So if I can either represent this by 150 degrees or by 30 degrees. So when I represent by 30 degrees, I look at only magnitudes and write straight away like this. I know these are the component, the direction. Or you can also say straight away like this. So what is that? Fx is 100 cos 150 degrees. So when I write 100 cos 150 degrees, what is that I'll get is minus 86.6 Newton. So what does this minus sign says? This minus sign says that it is directed to the left. So if this is my origin and this is my positive x-axis and positive y-axis, and now my component in the horizontal direction towards left. So that is the meaning of it. So what you do, you would remove this minus sign and then you write 86.6 Newton and show the direction to the left like that. So you may represent like this. Whereas what is Fy now? So that can be 100 cos 100 sin 150 degrees. So 100 sin 150 degrees is 50 Newton itself. Since it's positive, it is upward. So look at now these two. If I bring these two tails, that refer to this. So that's what you should understand. Right? So if I give a force now, instead of an inclination from horizontal, say sometime problems, you'll see, say 100 Newton force, the direction here is say 30 degrees to vertical. So now if I ask you to resolve this force into two components, what do you have to do? So complete this rectangle around this, and then you know now this is my Fx. So now Fx is directed to the left, and this is my Fy. Here students do sometimes make mistake. It is not that some students do think Fx means always F cos theta, Fy means F sin theta. Not so. You should be very careful. The direction is given to which axis that you have to see. Since the direction of this force dictated to the vertical, you should see and look at this right angle triangle in this rectangle construction. And then you see now Fx is opposite to the angle, so it is sine angle. So 100 sine theta is what is Fx 30. And I write here only 100 sine theta because already I have put my direction to the left. Right? And see now on adjacent side is what is my Fy for this angle. So this is going to be 100 cos 30. So it is changed. So you should see that actually what is the direction? Is it given to horizontal axis or vertical axis? Is it from positive x-axis or just to the horizontal given all? So this careful observation is important when you want to play with your forces, right? So any doubt so far what we discussed? Any doubts? Anybody? Manta Ravi Shankar, do you have any doubt what we discussed so
No,
far?
sir. No, sir. I don't have any doubt.
Yeah, it's clear so far what is that, Eliza.
Yes.
Sohail Chaudhary, Danush, Kishan. So I am also making, see,
Yes,
when I
sir.
call, I have opened here an Excel file. The student who respond,
Yes,
I
sir.
put tick mark. The student who does not respond, I mark absent. Absent in the sense, I just make
Sir.
a note of it who are active students in my class. So I would consider
Sir.
my class. Yeah, that's a, see, whenever I interact online classes, I do have a practice like this. In Excel sheet, I just put a tick, those who are responding, right? So that I'm saying that so that no, you'll be motivating yourself. Me, no, this environment, though we are apart and different corners of the places, we are at this 1 hour at least together to ensure, right? Yeah. Yes, Kishan. Any doubts so far what we discussed?
No, sir.
No. Yeah. So now I'm going to pose another question, make you to think how do you answer, right? Yeah. So look at now, I'm going to have the same 100 Newton force. But the representation of the force you see now, it is not with respect to the axis set which are at right angles. Rather, they are with an obtuse angles. So since the horizontal axis x I default take and y dash axis I put, which is now inclined to this horizontal, say by 60 degrees. So this is axis set. So they are not rectangular coordinate system. They are not Cartesian coordinate system. I hope you know what is Cartesian coordinate system, right? So it is that you have three perpendicular axes, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. I name them in this fashion x, y, z, considering right hand of your three fingers. So stretch your three fingers, middle finger, index, and thumb at right angles of your right hand. And if you consider your index finger referred to x-axis, then middle finger is y-axis and thumb is your z-axis. So this is your rectangular coordinate system, Cartesian coordinate system. So this axis set is important to represent the forces, to play with forces. So you would have this axis fixed in a rigid body, so that with respect to that point, you would be able to describe where is that point of application of the force. With respect to that, you would be able to say the direction of force, right? So that's why this is very important. So if you have understood that, I am not taking all the three coordinates. Instead, I am taking only two coordinates and I am looking at it in a plane. That's only XY coordinate, which we have seen just now in the previous case discussions. So these discussions. So now I'm going to look at coordinate which are not of Cartesian coordinate, right? Rather, it is a special coordinate x and y dash axis. So if it is x and y dash axis, how do you look at now force? And I want to do the same step what you have learned, resolving the force into two components. So I just now explain and see that how much you are able to follow or answer to me. So look at now the force here I'm going to consider is of say 100 Newton force again, and which is inclined to this horizontal say 20 degrees. So this inclination is 20 degrees. Just a minute, it's not responding. Yeah. So this angle is 20 degrees. Now I have to replace this 100 Newton force into two forces along x and y dash axis. Can anyone quickly answer and tell how do you go about doing this? A simple procedure is the same. So how did we do in a rectangular coordinate system? Same way. There we have constructed a rectangle, but here I'm going to construct a parallelogram. So look at here, I'm going to draw a line parallel to y dash axis from the head of the force, and I'm going to draw a line from the head of the force parallel to horizontal axis. So what does that it does now? It has done a construction of a parallelogram, and you see the diagonal of this parallelogram is what is this 100 Newton force, and you would see there are the adjacent sides. So this adjacent side here on x-axis is what is my interest. This side is what is going to give me my fx, and this adjacent side is what is that I'm going to find out as my fy dash. Fy dash. All right. So you see in parallelogram the opposite sides are parallel. So this is same as this fy dash, and this side is same as fx dash. So now what are the magnitude of this fx and fy dash? I know the direction of these two components now. One to the right x-axis, along x-axis. Another one is along y dash axis, 60 degrees inclined to x-axis. But their magnitudes. So that's what I need to find out. So how do I find out? Since that congruent triangle inside this parallelogram is not a right angle triangle, Look at here, this angle. This is not right angle triangle. So we cannot use Pythagoras theorem. We cannot use simple sine theta, cos theta, tan theta understanding. So what is required? You look at one of the triangle out of these two and look at the law of triangle. Right? So I'm going to do now. By the way, at the beginning we saw one of the fundamental principles is triangle law of forces. So that's what we are going to now understand and use it. So let me take a triangle which is of unequal sides of this case now. So these are that. So if I inscribe this triangle inside a circle like this, just a minute. Inscribe inside, it has to be inscribed like this. So this is a circle. I have the center. I have this radius here. So this is the radius of the circle. So now what does that you understand from triangle law of forces? If I have these angles, say this angle is A, this angle is B, this angle is C, and these are the opposite sides, say this is capital A, this is capital B, this is capital C, then what does my triangle law of forces says? Triangle law of forces. Triangle law of forces. Say, in this triangle, there is something called first sine rule. What is sine rule? Take this magnitude of one of the side of the triangle. Say, for example, this side A, opposite to this angle capital A, the small a. So that magnitude by opposite angle, sine of opposite angle, sine theta. Here it's sine small a, sine a, is what is same as B by sine B. What is equal to C by sine C. And which these all ratios are equal, and that is going to be equal to 2 times this circle that inscribes this triangle. So this is what is sine rule, which you have done in your school days, you would remember, and this would be quite useful now for this resolving this force. And another rule, what is called in this triangle law of forces. So triangle law of forces is what you construct the triangle where the sides are the magnitude of forces that you consider, then these rules are applicable. So next one is cosine rule. What is cosine rule? You see now I require side A, its magnitude. If this angle B would have been, I require A, correct? If this angle, one angle out of ABC is right angle, then it is Pythagoras theorem sufficient. But they are not so, that is why this. So now the magnitude of side A is given by magnitude of side B square, other two adjacent sides. So other two sides, B squared plus C squared, minus, look at this, 2BC cos of angle opposite to side A, small a. And then the magnitude of the side B would be in the similar fashion. You can write A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cos B angle. And the magnitude C would be A square plus B square minus 2AB cos C. So these three formulas are cosine rule, and the first one was the sine rule. So this would help you to resolve now this force, right? So how do you do that? So now look at here in this triangle. In this triangle, I have now this side is 100, which is my longer side, the diagonal of the parallelogram, or the one which makes two concurrent triangles. So your longer side, this 100. So I know this side. I know this angle in this triangle. Let me call this triangle naming as OAB. So OAB triangle, I require Fx and Fy to be found out now. Fy dash to be found out. So I do not know two sides, but I know this side magnitude. I know one angle. So this helps us to solve. That's all. So I know the interior angles of this triangle from this geometry. So that's very clear. How? So what are those angles? If this angle is 20 degrees here, and this y dash axis is 60 degrees inclined horizontal, so you know obviously this angle is 60 degrees. If this angle is 60 degrees, this inner angle is going to be 120 degrees. So in a triangle OAB, if this is 20 degrees, this is 120 degrees, that you know some of the angles in that interior, some of the angles in the triangle is 180 degrees. So you know if this is 40 degrees, this angle is now 40 degrees. Is it not? So it's 40 degrees. So now you know all the three angles and one side, you're done. Because you know one side is known and three angles are known, you can find two unknowns. So that's exactly now we are going to just write down and know the values. So what is it? So look at now Fx. So I know 100 Newton. So 100 by sine. I am applying first sine rule. So sine of what is that angle opposite to that is 120 degrees. That's equal to Fx by opposite side angle is 40 degrees. So sine 40, and Fy dash by opposite angle is 20 degrees, sine 20 degrees. So this solves for my components Fx, that's 100 sine 40 by sine 121. Another one is Fy dash, which is 100 sine 20 by sine 120. So you would be able to answer and tell. So they are 100 into sine 40 divided by sine 120. I get 74.22. So the first one is 74.22 Newton, and the second one 100 into sine 20 divided by sine 120. So it's 39.49. So this value is 39.49 Newton. So these are the two components. So what is the meaning of this? Resolving a force into two coordinates along two lines. So that is not necessarily always that it has to be at right angle. So you may have a situation while solving the problem that you require to resolve them at some particular angle, like this case. So one is Fx, another one is Fy dash. So this 100 Newton force can be replaced by these two forces called resolution of a force. So hope you have followed. How do you apply this triangle of forces, particularly when to use this triangle of forces? So whenever you have a force to be resolved other than a Cartesian coordinate system, right, you require to use triangle of forces for resolving. Now the same task what we did in the previous case, like cross checking. how do you compose the two forces? So you are able to compose this 86.6 Newton and 50 Newton forces by using Pythagoras theorem. So now how do you compose this force? These two forces and then cross check yours, and that's exactly is what is another fundamental principle called the parallelogram law of forces. So you should understand what is it. So the parallelogram of forces is what we'll apply, and then we'll cross check that I get back this 100 Newton, and there we end today's lecture. This is very important first lecture that no one should have doubt on this process, right? So with that note, let me finish it in another 5 minutes today's lecture, explaining you what is parallelogram of forces, parallelogram of addition of two forces. So here I want to add this Fx vector and Fy dash vector to get this 100 Newton force. That's what I'm going to explain you now. So let's take here. So this is, let me just take in a generic name, vector P and vector Q. Just what is this parallelogram law to understand. So this vector P, this vector Q, which is at an angle phi. So in our case, the P is Fx, the Q is Fy dash, and angle 60 degrees is phi. So if I have to replace this by a single force, what is called its resultant, and that is what is obtained through a process called composition. So I'm just going to combine these two. I'm going to find out what is this resultant, and that is my R vector. So now I'm going to take one of this congruent triangle. So what is that? One is this P, another one is this R, and then this Q. This is Q. So now in this, I'm going to extend this P vector, and I'm going to drop a vertical from Q vector, and I form a triangle here, which is right angle triangle. So let OAB is a right angle triangle. Triangle at A, right? And you know now, in a right angle triangle, just some time back we have looked at, if this Q vector is a hypotenuse now, I know what is this point. So if this is say point C, so CA is what is an adjacent side here with the angle same as that of angle phi. So this angle phi. So this is going to be what? Q cos phi. And opposite side component is what? Is going to be Q sin phi. And you know this OC vector is P vector. Now what is OA vector? OA length is summation of magnitude of P plus Q cos phi, or addition of these two vectors. So in this triangle, OA vector is now P vector plus Q cos phi vector, Q vector cos phi. And what is the AB? AB is Q sin phi vector, Q sin phi vector, right? There are students now joining. I'll admit them for first day. Yeah. So now I have this, and then I know now what is this is the direction of my force. So the direction of this force in our case problem is say alpha, which was 20 degrees. So I have here this angle is alpha. So this is just 20 degrees. So I know in right angle triangle now what is tan alpha. What is tan alpha? Tan alpha is opposite side by adjacent side, that's AB by OA. So I'm going to have this alpha equals tan inverse of AB is what is this? So that is P plus Q cos phi and divided by Q sin phi. So if I put that, I'll get my direction. How do I get my magnitude? It's simple that OB is what is my magnitude R, which is equal to OB, which is under root of OA square plus AB square, Pythagoras theorem. So substitute what is OB. So OA is P plus Q cos phi. So square that, and this is Q sin phi, square it, and then it's going to be P squared plus Q squared plus 2PQ cos squared phi plus Q squared sin squared phi. See, nicely coming. It's very interesting, right? So you see here, I have Q squared cos squared phi here. Sorry, this is cos squared phi. So I have here Q squared cos squared phi, Q squared sin squared phi. So Q squared is taken out common. You know, sin squared phi plus cos squared phi is 1. So I can rewrite this equation inside the radical as P squared plus Q squared plus 2PQ cos phi. And that's what is my R, which is diagonal of this parallelogram. So this R is what is our 100 Newton force, that is consideration of the problem. And angle phi here in our considered problem is 60 degrees and angle alpha is 20 degrees. So you would cross check or you would compose if you are given two forces along x and y dash as what we have found now resolving, you can get back. So that's exactly, let us cross check and complete the class. So now in place of P squared, what is that I should put? In place of P squared, I should put Fx square. In place of Q square, I should put Fy dash square. Then 2Fx Fy dash cos phi is what is my F. So substituting the values, I would get, so what is that value that we got for Fx? Do you have written on your notebook? 74.22. So 74.22 square plus what was Fy dash you got? 39.49.
49.
Yeah, 39.49 square plus 2 into 74.22 square, 22 into 39.49 cos of angle between two axes. That's cos phi. So what is that? 60 degrees. So substitute that and you would have exactly 100 Newton. So this is how you can cross check. So in this, if you substitute the value, so in place of P you put Fx, in place of Q you put Fy dash, and this is 60 degrees, and you would get your angle 20 degrees. Cross check this. So this is very important step, resolving and composing forces. So resolution of a force and composition of forces is the first step in our rigid body mechanics to play around with the forces acting on rigid bodies, right? I hope that you all have understood this point clearly. And in case you have a difficulty, listen back to the videos once again. I'll upload it and you will be all right. So I'll stop at this point if you do not have any doubts, any questions further, the lecture. And now it's 1:50 and you would be free to go for the next lecture. There are 27 students present today and I will post their attendance. I'm downloading the attendance. Any doubts? If you do not have any doubts, let me stop sharing my screen. That's fine, because if I stop sharing again, it's difficult to answer on the screen. So I just stop sharing. And you have any doubts? No? Then I'll stop recording.